Luke, I am not your father.
Thank God for that.
Okay, and here we go with another episode of Britcast. I'm David Birch, and I am with my colleague, Luke Riley.
Good day there.
We're going to bring you the British perspective on gaming once again. So, Luke, how are you doing, mate? It's been a
Not
long
bad.
time.
It's been a long time. It's good to get going in the groove again. It's been
It
a
is?
week of gaming and gaming news.
Far too much gaming as far as a lot of people are concerned with me, but I don't care.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
It has, yeah. I mean, there's not exactly been the busiest news week in gaming. I mean, we agreed that before we hit the old record button. There's been a few bits out there we can kind of bring people up to speed on, especially with being this close to the next generation, or close-ish, closest we've been on a daily basis. But following last week, we talked a lot about the PS4 and compared it to what potentially the new Xbox is going to be. I managed to pull up a few bits and pieces of information. Of course, I'll say initially, none of this has been confirmed by Microsoft, but a lot of this is being spoken about coming from people that have first-hand experience. And I suppose we should just jump in with what various sources are saying that the Xbox 720, or the nextbox as I call it, will have to have a permanent internet connection to function. It'll also be, I mean, this is pretty obvious, but it's going to be coming with a new iteration of Xbox Live, which we suspect will cost a lot more, and an improved version of Kinect, which is no surprise either. The one bit that is quite interesting to me is the fact that the Xbox games are potentially going to be coming on 50 gig Blu-ray discs. And I'm guessing that they've just sort of conceded to Sony that the HD DVD just wasn't going as many places as Blu-ray. The other part saying here that the AMD 8-core 1.6 gigahertz CPU will be on board on the new Xbox. I mean, this again, I spoke to you about this, Luke, about looking at the financials. AMD have announced that they've had nearly 97 million, call it 100 million in profits from the CPU division. So it's a pretty safe bet that somebody placed a large order.
Ka-ching.
And exactly. The other part here is saying that there'll be 8 gig of RAM on board. So again, like last week, hopefully this will lead to my expectations of a smarter AI. But the point we want to really discuss in this segment will be the fact that it's saying that the Xbox will not allow used games to be played on it. Now, Luke, you love used games. I use used games as well. What do you think about that?
That is... There's two sides to the coin. It's concerning because it means that you can't buy cheap games. For example, if I was to go out now and get Skyrim, I get it for cheap. If I was to go on the Xbox store, it would cost 50 quid.
Mm-hmm.
And the two sides of the coin are, it's bad for cheap games, but it's good because developers are getting the money they need to continue games. The only problem is if the publisher, Microsoft, decides to price it correctly. Because if we get a game that's a year old and it's still priced 50 quid, it's not going to get the sales at all.
No. Well, there is that, but you've got to remember as well, I mean, over here in the UK, to any of our American or Canadian or anybody that's not living in the UK listeners, we're losing all our high street stores at the moment. They're all being closed down for the recession, overheads, whatever, it's killing them. And the ones that are surviving need that extra income that come in from the used games. Now, I know this is going to sound like a bizarre thing, but if a company makes profit, they spend that profit on buying new stock. They make profit off used games. That money off used games then goes to buy the stock of the new games that are coming through the door. And that's how the cycle sort of happily continues. And I don't think that they should break that because I don't think that we're ready for it. Like you said, the pricing doesn't match up. I mean, is it Need for Speed? What's the latest game that came out? Hot Pursuit, was it? Is that the latest? I can never remember the names. But the most recent Need for Speed
I think
that
it's
came
the Most
out.
Wanted. The Hot Pursuit came out the year before. I mean, they're just pumping these games out.
Yeah, they're annual iterations.
Yeah.
That's why I could never keep track of the bloody names, to be fair. But the latest Need for Speed recently landed on the Xbox dashboard, probably a week at most. And it's currently priced at $49.99.
No.
Now, it is, yeah. I mean, I like my racing games, like we said, and I haven't actually got around to playing that one fully, really getting my teeth into it. And I thought I could be interested in doing that. And the more and more lazy I get, I hate having to get out of my chair and change discs. But when I saw the price, I was thinking, holy shit, I ain't going to be buying that. And then when I literally went into the high street, I saw the game on the shelf for $22.99 brand new, which goes to show that the digital outlet does not reflect the price of what the retail side of things are. Sorry, Luke, I just jumped across you there with that one. But yeah, go on, carry on what you say, mate.
Just the with this new model of no pre-owned games, I think it's gonna kill retailers for the start because they rely on like you say, the pre-owned stock. And there's a chain of stores attacking the high street in Britain now called CEX or Computer Exchange, and all of that is pre-owned. They sell the games cheap and they buy in games for a good price. So the business model they have is really good. Now, if consoles stop using used games, like completely just that's it, cut off, goodbye, those shops are gonna be obsolete. They have to rely on their technology sales and film sales and phone and computer sales. They can't rely no longer on the video game sales. I'm worried about that because there's nothing. I love going to a shop with a spare tenner and just getting a game that I've wanted to play, but it's been too high a price previously.
Games must be a lot cheaper up north, I'm telling you, because I ain't bought a game for a tenner in a long time, no matter how old it is.
Deus Ex Human for less than 10.
Really? Fair play, isn't it? This doesn't cost that in good old Birmingham. No chance. But it's like you say, that those shops I think are going to die. But as well, you mentioned that chain of stores, those prices have been creeping up anyway. So, with the inevitable rising costs that they need for operating costs, staff wages and premises. Just all in all, it's a bad idea. It isn't going to work. We're all arguing about it now. I mean, we all said like Project $10 that we all know as online pass. Everybody said that wouldn't work. And now look at us. I mean, it does force you to buy brand new. I know it does me. I don't know if it does with everybody else. But if a game has got an online pass, if it's from EA, it's in there. Activision don't, but all EA games do. And it does lead me to go and purchase a brand new copy of that game, apart from Dead Space, of course, because of the day one DLC craziness. So I don't think it'll be good. I don't think it'll work as well. I think they'll see their profits hit, but will we just become used to it? There'll only be so long hardcore gamers can resist. There's so many people going, no, it'll be the end of me. I'm not going to play that anymore, and it's ridiculous. But when they go around to their mate's house and they see him playing a game with like photorealistic graphics and something that they've never seen before, they're probably going to go, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. And one thing as well that we're forgetting is we spoke about it before off air. MMOs, free to play games, we could be seeing a lot of those coming through on consoles where it doesn't need a shop to sell them. I mean, we've got Defiance on the horizon as well, which is due in April. That's going to be on Xbox and PlayStation and PC, and you can cross-play between those platforms while you're playing online. And people are labelling that as going to be quite a bit of a sleeper hit.
I haven't seen much of them. Defiance. What kind of game is it? Is it a shooter or a fantasy game?
Post-apocalyptic third-person shooter.
Oh, it's MMO as well.
Yeah, it's free to play, open world game. It looks quite interesting. I mean, to be fair, I'd seen it and I hadn't really looked into it. I just saw third-person shooter, and I thought, okay. Then I saw it was open world. Then I saw that it was, massively multiplayer online, and then I saw the fact that you can play with Xbox, PlayStation, and PC players can all play at the same time. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed, but I have done a bit of research, and it does look like that's possible. But that's coming this generation. What I suspect is we're going to see something similar to that moving forward on the next generation. More MMOs, more free-to-play games. Where, as much as I hate microtransactions, I think we're going to see games that have no retail value whatsoever.
I don't think you are. I think games are going to be made. I think the models, the Walking Dead episodic game is showing that it works. So you could be seeing, there won't even be sequels. It'll just be, for example, just Dead Space and then episodes of that released.
Season 2.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Dead Space Season 2.
There's good, but I mean, we could be both right, and it could be that the boxed game where you have to buy this, you got to pay a game which costs 60 quid or £80 or whatever it'll be. Could it double the price? Plus there'll be a season pass on board. Those could be that could be old school within a couple of years, and the new model is we'll make this game, we'll make it free to play, we'll limit you to the, it's just it's a glorified demo. You know, you can play up to level 10 to 15, like we see the likes of World of Warcraft doing, Star Wars online as well, the RPG there. And then they'll be like, right, once you get this far, do you like this game? Now you have to pay £5 to unlock the next 10 or 15 levels. And you need to pay a few pence here or there for these extra weapons. And it'll make people, I think, invest more into those games if they like them. But it also, everybody suspects that there'll be less games made. I mean, Destiny. We've talked about Destiny, haven't we? Bungie's new title. I think that's showing something as well. People are saying that's going to be very open world. There'll be a main game every 2 years, and in the middle there'll be sort of like content packs for it, which should probably be like, if it's more, you can travel around the universe. There could be more worlds. There could be more vehicles, armor upgrades, all that type of thing. I think we're starting to see a hint of the models changing of how games are going to be made and sold to us.
Well, I think it's going to happen. I think we'll get used to it. Online passes when they first started, everyone was like up in arms about it and why are they doing it, that kind of crap. But then everything kind of simmered down, and now it's a done thing. Game companies, when they know they have a fan base like Dead Space or Borderlands or whatever, they're gonna use things to get more money out of fans. They know they're gonna buy it. So when you have an online pass on a thing like Dead Space, they're not worried about people buying pre-order because they're not people who buy it because they want to play that online multiplayer.
Exactly. That's something they just know. They know how to push it to us. It's our hobby. It's what we like doing in our spare time or in our sleep or whenever we're just playing games all the damn time. And they're just working a better way out to squeeze us for it. I mean, they say that these games that are coming, you're not going to be able to play pre-owned games. That's fine. What do you reckon? We have 12 months of games that are coming out on disc. The following 12 months, we get E3 2014. This game's coming. It's free to play. That game's coming. Free to play. This game coming. It's a direct 2-3 gig download off the store, like a demo. And then once you upload and play it, then you can pay microtransactions in order to keep it up and running. You know, Destiny was talking about us. If you look it up as well, Destiny's talking about a subscription basis for that game as well. Could be something similar.
I think it's linked to something because with the way the online passes have worked and then the DLC, it's like it's been rolled out towards something, towards a bigger idea. Now, I think you're right with the next gen. They're going to use the next gen. They're going to get. I thought what the term is because I was trying to brain fart. When they're going to get a hold of the gamers by having the retail versions of the next gen games, like for example, say a Phantom Pain, the Metal Gear 5 game, Metal Gear Solid 5. They'll have it on disc. But then the sequels or the next parts of the game could be just the downloadable. They're gonna get I forgot that fucking phrase, man. Do your head in. They're gonna get the game. They're gonna get the gamers, bring them in with the retail games, and then introduce a new model. But because they've already got the gamers sucked in into the next gen, it'll not be as a challenging thing.
Every game will end with a to be continued, like a season finale, is what you mean.
Aye. That's what they'll do, and everyone will be like, oh, quick. Because if you buy a retail game, 40, 50 quid, or $60 for American friends, if you buy a full retail game and that game, if I was playing Dead Space, I loved the first game, and then at the end that said, to be continued, because of how much I loved the game, and I say that at the end, I'd squeal because I'd be like, oh, what's next for it? And then I'd wonder if it's going to be released by DLC or retail. So I think they're going to use what they've already used to their advantage and just make it more of a thing. There's no retail games are going to be the thing for next gen. It's all digital, I reckon.
Yeah, if you took a game like the original Gears of War game, and it had it concluded to a point, didn't it? And it finished, with the woman's voice talking the Queen at the end of first Gears of War game. You knew that there was potentially going to be a sequel because that war wasn't over. But if it actually said to be continued, you'd be already asking questions of when that game is coming. And I think that's how they'll change the model to keep us hooked. Digital downloads, I think, will be a thing of the future. It won't be digital only. But I think because that Microsoft and Sony, if they do it as well, will predominantly say that this game was here at this time on the console, exactly at midnight launch, just like every other thing, exactly the same price. Digital sales are up. So as soon as they will argue that it's a good idea at first when everybody completely disagrees with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, people will just start naturally buying. digitally on day one, provided the hard drives are big enough. But then obviously if you've got these always internet connection, they could be cloud-based, and it could be a very small file that has to run on your console, and the rest of it's all just streamed through.
I do want to move on to a point about the internet connection, but very quickly, them Telltale games, they've done a kind of backward model where they release the game digitally by episode, then they release the full game on retail, so you know for a fine fact there'll be people who've bought the game digitally every episode, and they want the retail game just because it's that game, because it's such a good game. So I think that's a clever way of companies going to make money. They release it slowly and then release the complete package, and people are going to buy both the digital games and the retail games as well.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, the conclude thing is a bad idea. I think that they will know that people think it's a bad idea, and there'll be sort of like a revolt against it, and then a lot of games will come out digitally. Honestly, this free-to-play model, I think we'll see more and more of coming in the next generation.
Yeah,
I really do.
It's been successful. Games have kind of thrived on it. Like the Lord of the Rings online game was struggling, and since they put in the free-to-play model, it's been a success.
And also when you can download it straight from their website as well, rather than have to buy the disc copy.
And one last thing about the Xbox: if it is going to be a permanent internet connection, especially with the fact half the fan base of Xbox isn't even on live, that is risky. In the end, risk to alienate people. I know it's a rumour now, but it doesn't seem too far-fetched.
Yeah, there's no smoke without fire. I mean, that's a good way to look at it. You never know. There's fingers crossed that it all stays the same, but I highly doubt it. That's why it's going to be a next-gen console.
All about the money.
Speaking of a bit of a side step, I want to move on to the Ouya. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Ouya.
Exactly. The reason why I wanted to bring this up, because the Ouya, if you didn't know already, is an Android-based powered platform. It was one of the only things on Kickstarter I can see which is actually turning into something tangible and real. I know there's a couple of games out there, but other than the fact that I've read today that there's people out there trying to build Rebellion X-Wing fighters out of Star Wars, I'm not quite sure what that is. They're clocking in at about $250,000 to buy one of those. They've got a target of 11 million. I mean, that's what I say about things that aren't probably going to happen, and then Ouya is. The only thing with this we're talking about is open platform. So I think that could be looked at, that if you're buying one of these, you can download a game and potentially manipulate it in your own way, or in fact develop your own quite easily onto the system and maybe upload it to a sort of network. The release date for this is slated to be June 2013, with a price point at the moment it's just saying dollars of $99, and they're also talking about annual iterations of the console. People shouldn't be alarmed though if they do buy games on this platform, because it's rumoured to have a system similar to Steam where all your purchases are logged onto an online account. So I suspect you can just re-download as and when you want to. I mean, we had a bit of chat about this. We were talking about games for this thing. There hasn't been anything announced, but approval starts later this month for certain games to appear on this platform. Nothing announced for around the launch time as well. And the only big name that I can see linked to this so far is Tim Schafer. Apparently it's Double Fine, I believe, his studio. They're linked to be making a game for this, but again, it's not scheduled to be at the point of release. Now, what do you think about an open platform where people can tweak and do what they want, but bearing in mind, it's based on Android?
I am kind of cautiously optimistic. When I go on Xbox Marketplace, every now and then I'll kind of go down to the indie part of it. Are you alive now?
Yes, I'm here.
They'll go down to the indie part, and it's kind of depressing to see all of the indie games that get absolutely no. They'll have, say, 500 ratings of 5 stars. And yes, that's 500 people who've played the game, and the indie game has been. It hasn't been for nothing. But if the indie games now are getting their own platform to be put on and have the exposure they need, I think it's only a good thing. One of our followers, Blade IT guy, who submitted a question last week, he wants to know what we think of this. And he says a new one will be released every year. I am optimistic about it. I'm looking forward to getting it. I am thinking about getting one. I'm looking forward to seeing how it helps the indie games, because I want, especially with games like Limbo, where it's like the smaller people have the best ideas for me. And I'm excited for the Ouya. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea, but see, the thing is, with like you said, we're talking about the next generation coming through. Is this a step back for all the people that love iPad games? Because that's really what it's going to be, an Android tablet game, should we say? That's really going to be the people who are going to be looking at this, I think. Do you want Angry Birds on a screen that on a 44-inch screen like I've got? Not necessarily.
You can get it though. Angry Birds Trilogy is on the Xbox and PS3.
But there's also things like with those indie games you mentioned on the Xbox dashboard.
Hmm.
Though that hasn't, I don't think, been a massive success. There's probably been a lot of good games in there, but there's just no promotion. There's no exposure for them, and it might be good to get them over onto a platform where they just go on to do, yeah, so you can have it in your house and you can just click on it and play on it. But looking at the size of the machine, it looks like the size of a Rubik's Cube. How much power is it going to have? Is it going to be just for casual gaming? Can you really see something massive going onto this platform? I mean, I'm not being hard on it. I'll probably get one myself to have a look at it and have a fiddle around with it. That's without a doubt. But this opens up another generation of gaming, or another side of gaming. It really does.
To me, it's like the Wii. It's that kind of thing. It's not necessarily a generation. It's an alternative to the current. What's that?
It's not. Yeah, it's not going to be mainstream. But there's going to be a lot of development that's got to go into it. The indie games from the Xbox dashboard and the minis, maybe from PlayStation, they'd have a good home on it because they're built with a controller in mind. But a lot of Android-based games are built around touch and instant reaction across the screen, aren't they?
Hmm.
So how many of those games are going to transfer over to it quite quickly? That's my concern. That it's a great idea, but yeah, I mean, you're not going to get some massive developers getting on board if the game can literally be pulled apart, for, on a code level, for people to reprogram and repurpose for their own means. So I'm interested in the support that it gets. I hope it gets some support, but it's a different question, really, isn't
I
it?
think there's excitement over the fact that it's different, but then people always get excited and kind of jump on the bandwagon, and then when it comes to the crunch, they'll just kind of watch it happen instead of taking part. And I'm worried that could happen.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's the manufacturing costs. Are they going to get it overseas? I mean, I know a lot of the retailers. I talked to some people quite high up in buying departments for the remaining retailers that we've got in the UK, and they don't know anything about it. They have known nothing about the June 2013 release. So hopefully they get the right amount of exposure, because I'm always interested in seeing something new. I'm just always concerned about the amount of support that they'll get. And obviously, what the resolution of this is going to be, because people are going to plug this thing into a big screen TV. Is it going to be HD? Is it going to be SD? What the Wii looks like when you plug it into a HD TV. It's fuzzy as hell.
Well, the games now, the indie games rely on the style, and I think if it is standard definition, the look of the games are going to be lost. So when you have a game like, for example, Journey, it's not necessarily the most photorealistic game, but because of its style, when it's in HD, it does look amazing. And same with Limbo. So I think they're gonna have to HD that shit up, otherwise it's gonna lose some of the games.
Limbo.
Lose the aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean Limbo. That's a hell of a game. I love that game.
Do indeed.
I actually have that on disc as well, believe it or not.
Oh, there's a 3-pack on there with Trials HD.
Yeah, Trials, Explosion Man, and Limbo. Yeah, managed to pick up all of that.
I still haven't played Super Meat Boy.
You don't want to. You'll just end up screaming at it like I did.
Yes, very quickly before we go on to the next one, while we're talking about Ouya, the Blade IT guy who brought it in, his son, who was a little gamer, had an operation on his thumb. He cut through his tendons and had to have his nerves reattached. So I want to give a little shout out to little Mannix, and when his thumb is healed, he can continue saving worlds.
Yeah, good luck with the recovery there, friend. Yeah, it's sad news in a child's ill like that. Just caught me off guard there, Luke. Sorry about that, mate. Just a little bit. Yeah, I hope the little guy's thumb's just all right. But hopefully his thumbs and his fingers are all intact for the next game we're going to talk about, because there's been some news and some talk of Mass Effect 4, or should we call it Mass Effect 4?
Effect side order.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of quotes here saying, thinking of the next Mass Effect game as Mass Effect 4 would imply a certain linearity, a straight evolution of the gameplay and story of the first 3 games. That doesn't mean that the events of the first three games and your choices won't get recognised, but likely won't be this new story will focus on. The Mass Effect universe is so rich and we're not limited to a single track when coming up with a new story. Now, that leads me to believe that they don't really know much about the story just yet. And I don't know what to read of that. If it's going to be on a next-gen console, the next Mass Effect, because I can't see it coming out in the next couple of weeks, I'm starting to think that if our choices from the first three games are going to have an impact on how the storyline moves in the next Mass Effect series, how are they going to bring those choices over? Or more logically, I think, Luke, that they're going to have a complete departure from the first three films. I got carried away there. First three games, and go with a completely new story arc. Now, I may let you go for your point, Luke. Do you think, though, it will be a story set before or a story set after?
I think it's going to be a story set after. I don't know where this thought came from. It's literally just popped into my head. But I thought maybe it's going to be a a bridge between the two. I don't know, for example, trilogies, let's say. Um, 7, yeah, out soon. Mass Effect 4 might be a link between the two kind of main story arcs. You might have this game be the result of the actions happened in Mass Effect 3, so like the galaxy from another person's perspective after the events of Mass Effect 3. I'm not going to say what, because that's what's cruel. And then maybe have the actions, what you do in this game, have an effect in Shepard's story in the fifth game, for example. So it's
You think Shepard will be back for the fifth one then?
hopefully, might be. You never know what happens to this sci-fi. Look what happened in the previous games. I'm being very careful.
Yeah.
What I say.
I don't think Shepard's going to come back. I've got this. I don't know. I've just got this weird feeling that if they were to do a follow-on to the Mass Effect story and make it, like give it the 4, 5, and 6 treatment as another trilogy, unless they had another one of those comic book things at the start of it that had quite a lot of choices for you to go through. And then for you doing that to generate a massively rich world with all these fresh choices, I think that's going to be some damn hard way of programming that game. That's really going to be hard work for the developers. I think they're just going to go completely new. I think the story will. There were certain endings to Mass Effect 3, without saying any of them. Even though if you haven't played it yet, you're silly. But there's certain endings.
Bluntly, you're silly.
Yeah, I think that they'll just be A, B, or C, like the original endings were before the controversy. Did you pick this as an ending? Yes. Click. And I think those effects will be minor. Now, I can't really go into it, but if something did or didn't go boom in the universe all over them, that's basically 2 games on one disc, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think that for a good game would be to have a kind of say in how, say, for example, Hackett started his career, or Anderson.
A prequel.
Yeah, like a prequel, just as a character arc, because Hackett you don't see much of him. Well, you see more of him in the third game, but he's few and far between in the first and second. Just seeing what their characters did when they started their career in the service.
Or it'll be, what was Garrus's race of people called?
Oh, fucking shit. Here's our knowledge tested and someone flames us. You should know your shit. Tyrians. Yeah,
that's the one. I think I heard somebody say previously that it would be good if they could show the human Turians war, because that apparently happened, didn't it, in the Mass Effect universe? We fought them dudes when we first showed up.
Contact War.
The what?
It's called the First Contact War.
That's the one. Maybe there's a trilogy focused around that. Maybe the first. Imagine if they gave it sort of like the Assassin's Creed thing, a different generations. Imagine if each game, we go on about episodes. The first part of the episode was you work for a corporation and you find the Prothean ruins on Mars, and then it leads them to the actual gate activation. Yeah, the Mass Effect relay that's behind Pluto, isn't it? It's hiding there.
Yeah. It's hiding.
Literally, it's hiding, peeping around the corner. Imagine if it was like based around that type of story, where it started off like that. You have a certain guy's surname, and you're in the corporation. You want a research team. You go there. they figure out this. A couple of years pass, and then a research team is sent out to the Mass Effect relay. Mass Effect relay is activated. They don't send any ships through. But I can't remember how the story works and the lore does. But imagine if it then the military, the Earth, then it jumps like a decade, and you play that guy's son going through the military, and then he becomes involved in the First Contact War, and it sort of reaches on like that. So you actually don't get to play the main character till 15, 20 hours in.
That'd be good. Or maybe if you play both sides, to have start a character. This is speculation. This is wild fantasy dreams.
Yeah, we're just guessing it.
Yes. Say, for example, start as a Turian when he starts his academy. Start as a human, and have little missions with them, and then how they when the contact was the middle point, and how they kind of meet up, how their destinies are intertwined, as you like, if you like.
Yeah, that would be good as well. But then there's the detachment of actually becoming familiar with the character. If I'm on about, I mean, I'm just not saying I'm going to be the creative director, but what I'm talking about is a lineage of one family through all of that, all the way through the First Contact War. I mean, I don't know. There might have been books written about it that, give it a basis.
I'm not being thick because you said a certain someone's name, and now you're saying lineage of a certain family, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, it was just my idea for a story.
Right, sorry. I thought you meant the areas of someone of a certain name.
Have another swig of that chocolate, son. Catch up. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if you did that, you play a bloke, research team, sees the ruins on Mars, goes off to find the gate behind Pluto, Mass Effect relay, sorry. Then it goes from, a decade later, you cut to a cadet going through the military academy, gets assigned to a ship for the first time. Then the First Contact War breaks out, and then you play his character as he rises through the ranks and gets more and more involved in the war and how that develops. So you see, like, I don't know, it adds a bit more foundations to the Mass Effect universe, as it were. And if those games take 5 years to produce and pump out, by the time they get to what would really be the sequel to the original Mass Effect trilogy, then they could go for another character.
I think the First Contact War is the historical point in that universe, what interests us most, because we haven't seen Little Green Men yet, and just what would happen when that happens is interesting to know. And I would like to know what happened when, in the Mass Effect world, that when they first met, like, was it like, oh, hello, Tyrion, and then shot in the face? But I don't know.
Was it an accident? Was it a military decision? Was there a moody general that just didn't trust them and treated them as hostile? Because you got a glimpse of it in Mass Effect 3. When they have the Prothean on board.
So good.
If you pay for the day one DLC, of course, where when he's in his quarters and the security guards have got guns on him, and they say they're following the protocol, the day one First Contact protocol, treat the enemy as hostile. That's what always got me interested in if they could do a set of sequel games like that, because I love the sci-fi universe. I always have done. It'd be interesting to see if they could do something there. But hey, we ain't gonna find out anything. They might hint at something at E3 this year. I doubt it, but I reckon by E3 2014 we will start to really get some buzz about what's happening with this Mass Effect game. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my eyes locked on it. Anytime there's any news come up, well, me and Luke will keep our eyes on it. Anytime any news comes up, we're just going to pump it out in the show. This is one of the games we're going to tag follow and see if they can develop it without, as they did do, was petition the people on the message boards for ideas for the story, I think that we mentioned before.
Dangerous. Well, that's all I'll say on that for now.
Definitely. So, Lou, go on then. What games have you been playing since last week?
I've been playing Transformers Fire Cybertron again, which is just too much fun. It's nothing else to say. It's just too much fun. When
Robots flying the crap out of each other.
Yes, and just playing as a giant robot where you can jump in the air with the music going over, and then just transform in midair, and then land on your feet, and then start shooting. It's like the best moment in the game. And then when Metroplex comes out, and he says, when Optimus says, I order you to fight for us, and then Metroplex kind of is what I can only describe as being birthed from the ground, and then he says, he's the call of the last prime. It's like, oh my and then you're just watching them kick ass. It's just so good. It's too good. It's just too good.
You got hairs on the back of your head.
Yes.
Yeah, well, for me, jumping around some of the games, I don't think I play much new. I've just been trying to finish off so much stuff. I did play Dead Space 3 Friday. I did play. I didn't purchase it though. I did what I said on last week's show that I would do. I would go around to my friend's house who purchased it, who I watched him play the game and realised he was absolutely terrible at it. So I went past me the pad and sat there and ploughed through the first
Step
5
aside,
hours.
son. It's time for a meal man to take over.
It was really, but that game did just turn out to me. I think it's all right. I was enjoying it I wasn't as hooked as I was with the first few minutes of Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect. I did it again. Dead Space. Yeah, I've got Mass Effect on the brain. I might have to play them before next week. All 3 of them. But Dead Space 1 and 2 had a way of hooking me in right from the beginning. The suspense, the atmosphere, it got me. Dead Space 3. It didn't do that for me.
Really?
It just turned in when it finally got going, turned into a lot of shooting. A real lot of shooting. And a real lot of looting. Or should I say, the stamp. I was actually calling it the stump. But then...
I found that in the demo. I was doing that a lot.
Yeah, you would do. There's a lot of boxes to stamp on. And they've done a very good job of naming everything. But after a while, you just don't care. You're just reaping all that stuff in. Just so you can find the next checkpoint to craft something. And I don't know, I thought it was too much added to the game, so it took away from it. It took too much away from it. And I don't know, I was a bit let down, I was a bit disappointed. I don't know how long it runs for, playtime was, but when I got 5 hours in, I didn't think that it had really got going. It was either that or I just completely missed the idea of the story. Because I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. And Isaac was better in Dead Space 1, but he just didn't say that much. That was my honest opinion.
I don't know, because I think, like, in that situation, you would be screaming shit 90% of the time while running around from them kind of abominations. But
Probably saying a bit more profanity than that, yes. But
yeah. Shit. And then when he didn't speak, it gave it like more mysterious. But then I suppose it is better that he did. I don't know. I can't decide because I like when he didn't speak, but I also didn't mind when he did, and I enjoyed the story. But I don't really give playing Dead Space is like The Walking Dead. I don't really give a shit about the characters. I'm just interested to see what happens in the larger scope of things.
You didn't give a shit about the characters in The Walking Dead?
I didn't at all. I couldn't give a... Right, well, let's fucking do this.
Hold on, listeners. Here comes Luke's heartless side. He might sound all cute and innocent, but now he's about not to.
I come with that advisory warning. I didn't give a shit. I found myself just kind of watching it thinking, okay, I don't really care about the characters, but I'm interested to see what happens to the world they're set in. That's all, basically. The only character I like is the governor.
Really?
I think he's a legend.
Really? How about the game? Did you care about the people in the game?
Yep. Cried like a bitch. Twice.
Yeah. How can you not care about the characters in the TV? You seriously got a malfunction there.
I care about the characters in the games a lot. In the film, I just found Rick and Shane was like, everything was let's speak like this contest. Who can speak the deepest?
They were sleeping with the same woman in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and the question of who's the daddy definitely was crossing both of their minds.
Screaming in the woods now and again when they got some time alone.
Who's the daddy? Exactly. That's don't care about the characters. Jesus.
Not in the show. In the game, I did a lot, but I didn't care about it in the show.
That's because you're a gamer. Is there any TV characters that you care about?
Who?
No. About Game of Thrones. Anybody on Game of Thrones you care about?
Some Fringe is epic. Cried like a bitch watching the finale of that as well. Because I'm a soft shit. David knows this.
Yeah, you are crying a lot of games. I've noticed that.
Mass Effect and what's its face? Yeah, Mass Effect and Walking Dead. And I cry at TV shows and films. I'm just a big swelling ball of emotion.
Yeah, whereas I'm not really that much of that. That's why it quite surprised me, because I get quite emotional about The Walking Dead. I'm thinking, oh my god, they're in trouble. And I do get a bit worried and fearful for their lives. There's Luke. No, don't give a shit about them. What? Okay, that's a bit mad. But yeah, on other games that I've been playing, I've just been back catalogue stuff, really. I've been catching up on Spartan Ops. I'll give a shout out to Tungy33 because Spartan Ups would not be any good unless he was stood next to me going, "Got him!" every
I do
headshot of
actually
every
want to give a shout out to the people who populate your Xbox party, because when I'm just kind of there not saying much, it is kind of hilarious just hearing the conversation.
We are a bit of a mad bunch,
Yes,
let's just
indeed.
say that. But Tunge33, if he's listening to me, he's going to moan at me when he listens to the show. But saying "got him" after every headshot on Spartan Ups when you're racking up 40, 50 kills,
In the in the accent, got him.
not quite. Bit of a Cov accent, but we'll let him off for that one. But yeah, it's always a bit special hearing that 40, 50 times. But anyway, yeah. But Spartan Ops is definitely something I'll be catching up on. Devil May Cry, a bit like trying to finish his ad off. And catching up with the Borderlands 2 DLC. I've been trying to do that to everybody, just getting messages in the middle of the show. Just catching up with Devil May Cry, because I got about 75% of the way through that game and I just lost my way with it. I found that I got to the platforming part and it just started to absolutely... Well, I started to get game rage. And control pads are very expensive. Now, Luke knows I suffer with game rage. I'm not too good with dying repetitively for the same fucking jump. So I put that game down, and now I'm back at it. After a little bit of screaming, I got past the bit where I was, and now I'm starting to enjoy it again. But hopefully I'm gonna crack through that, because of course, well, I'm planning on getting the game on Tuesday next week, but most of the planet appears to have broken the street date for Aliens Colonial Marines. My Xbox Live dashboard, we're recording this 4 days before the game's launched, and there are currently 5 people playing it.
Shut your face.
Yes, they are. They are. But the usual crazy party that you say you jump into, they are all playing it. The street date has been broken. Let's just say this, the official games retailers in the UK, after contacting 2 of the stores independently, where I know one of the regional managers was for quote on this, even with the necessary evidence, with me tweeting over a picture of the game accompanied by a receipt with a certain supermarket brand of this side of the game, I would give props to Game. The store would not break the sale and street day because they've got exclusive 25% discount on day one purchases, as well as exclusive DLC. Now, the reason why I'm promoting that, because they've stuck to their guns and stuck to February the 12th, whereas several other supermarkets haven't done that and have been selling it over the counter freely since Friday morning, by all accounts.
Sweet.
So I think we'll push a bit more deeper into that next week, because Luke, do you want to say who we've got on the show next week?
Oh yes, Mr. Annoyed Gamer Mark Spear, rant extraordinaire from GameTrailers.com.
Yep. So we're going to have a Geordie, a Brummie, and a Welshman.
That's who you're dealing with now, people. Step aside and recognise.
Yeah, we'll very nearly have a choir with those type of accents on the show. But that's so. But Luke, do you want to tell people how people can get in contact with us?
Yes, my Twitter is at UGamers, UGAMERZ, at Remedy Live for Dave Birch over there. Our Britcast Twitter page is at Britcast, very simple. And if you go to YouTube, because the name was taken, it is Britcast 007 on YouTube.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And also, you can email us at britcast007@gmail.com.
So there's several ways that you can get hold of us. So
Can't miss us.
send us comments, ask us questions, take the piss, say whatever you want. We don't mind. Now, before we close out the show, there's actually some quite sad news that I wanted to say with something that happened in Birmingham. A little lad by the name of Charlie Harris Beard. He was aged 2, and unfortunately the other day he lost his battle to an acute form of leukemia. Now, the reason why this is a bit out of character for a gaming show was this affected some people that were quite close to me, as they're having trouble with a couple of the kids themselves. They got to know the family. Now, Charlie became quite popular and famous with a simple Facebook campaign and raised a lot of awareness for Chords for Life. Now, this is something that I was made aware of just before the birth of my daughter several weeks ago, where it's a foundation that will come collect the umbilical cord after birth, take that away and store it, and use the blood which is in there for medical research to help cure children's diseases. Now, Charlie did receive a form of this treatment regarding the donation from an American cord, and did extend his life somewhat, even though it passed away at the age of 2. But what I'm saying, I'm just spreading awareness to all you gamers out there. We're a younger generation and we're all going to be having kids. I've had my first, there may be more for me. You guys need to seriously think about this. This is a thing that will save a child's life. So you can follow them at Twitter, at Chords for Life. You can simply type in Chord for Life on Google. Have a look at it. All I say is if you're going to do a donation, it's very, very simple. I have done it myself. That you tell them that's what you want to do. A woman will arrive with some paperwork when you and your partner are in recovery with a little baby. It takes you 5 minutes to fill out the paperwork. And the possibility that you can save a sick child's life, it's that simple. And it's ridiculous that we're not all doing it. Regardless of whatever your beliefs are, this is to save lives.
Yes, and I will include links to the website and the Twitter page in the description underneath the podcast on YouTube.
That's great. Right, so that is the end of Britcast. And we will be back next week, like I say, with Marcus Beer. And it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Take it easy, people.
Peace.